It feels like every single week there's some new AI tool that comes out promising to be a total game changer. And in the world of audio, voice cloning, well, that's one of the most exciting frontiers out there. I mean, the idea that you can realistically replicate a voice from just a few seconds of audio, that is an incredible leap forward. But what happens when that amazing promise actually meets a real-world test?
Okay, so let's really dive into this. We're going to take a look at a brand new multilingual voice cloning model and see how it holds up when an independent reviewer takes it for a spin. It's kind of the classic tale, right? Expectation versus reality.
And believe me, the expectations were set high. This was the headline from the developers at New Phonopic for their new model. The promise is crystal clear. Voice cloning, not just in English, but also in Spanish, French, and German. That's a really ambitious and exciting goal.
So what is this thing, really? The model's called new TTS Nano, and the whole idea is that it's a collection of small, open-source text-to-speech models. The key selling point is that they're supposed to be so small and efficient that you can run them on your own machine, right at home, no massive cloud server needed. So let's just break down the official pitch here. We've got 4 languages, a relatively small size at 120 million parameters. It supposedly runs on a standard CPU in real time, and get this, even on low-power hardware, like a Raspberry Pi. And of course, the star of the show, 3-second voice cloning. I mean, on paper, this thing sounds like an absolute dream for developers and hobbyists. Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? A great sales pitch is one thing, but performance? Well, performance is everything. So a reviewer decided to install it locally and find out if it actually lives up to all that hype. And the method here was super straightforward. No fancy tricks or anything, just a standard installation on a local machine to test each of the 4 language models. The goal was really simple. Does this thing work as advertised right out of the box?
And bam, the very first test revealed a major surprise. Remember that promise about it running on a CPU? Well, in reality, as soon as the model was launched, it immediately started gobbling up a huge amount of GPU resources, even though it was never asked to.
And we're not talking about a little bit of power. The model maxed out at over 17 gigabytes of VRAM. So think about it. If it's using that much power on a high-end graphics card, that claim of it running on a tiny little Raspberry Pi suddenly starts to look, well, very, very unlikely. Okay, so what about the voice cloning itself? The English model was up first, and it did successfully generate audio, which is a start, I guess, but the quality of the voice clone was, frankly, disappointing. It just didn't really sound like the source voice, which is kind of the whole point of voice cloning, right? Next up was the Spanish model, and the results here were even less impressive. As the reviewer put it, the output just, quote, fell flat. The audio it generated had none of the character or the tone of the original voice. It just didn't work.
And then came the German model. Well, that test was over before it even started. It didn't produce a bad clone. It produced nothing. The program just crashed with a critical error, a complete and total failure.
So let's just recap this whole reality check because the results were pretty stark. First, the model didn't run on the CPU like it promised. Instead, it hogged a massive amount of GPU power. Second, for the languages that actually did run, the main feature, the voice cloning, was just plain poor. And third, one of the models just flat out didn't work at all.
And look, these failures really matter because, as the reviewer pointed out, the text-to-speech market is incredibly crowded. It is super competitive. To make any kind of impact, a new model can't just be a cool idea. It has to deliver absolutely undeniable quality.
And just how saturated is this space? Get this, the reviewer estimates they have personally covered over 300 different text-to-speech models in just the last few years. So when users have that much choice, a product that doesn't work out of the box is going to have a really hard time getting any traction. So the final verdict here is pretty clear. The idea behind new TTS Nano, this small, efficient, multilingual, open-source voice cloner, is fantastic. It's exactly what so many people in the AI community are looking for. But at least in its current state, the execution just doesn't live up to that amazing promise. But, this isn't just a negative takedown. It's all part of the open source process. The reviewer specifically invited the developers of Newts to get in touch, maybe provide different instructions or correct any mistakes they might have made. This is how open source software is supposed to get better, through public testing, feedback, and, conversation. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. When a new tool like this is released, what should our expectation be? Should we demand a polished product that works perfectly from the first download?
Or is the reality of open source that we, the users, are kind of part of a public beta test, where all this troubleshooting is just part of the journey? It's a key debate in the future of accessible AI. What do you think?